Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Liferia, and today's guest is Richard Seeram, better known as the conscious rapper, Rich Vision. Coming from the Bronx and Brooklyn, Richard grew up in the heartbeat of hip hop culture. For a long time, he played the game the way it was designed to be played: braggadocious, ego-driven, and projecting total invincibility. But when the world shut down during the pandemic, the music stopped, and so did the distraction. Richard found himself wrestling with a crisis of identity and self-worth that the ego could no longer hide. Instead of doubling down on the tough guy persona, he shattered the mask. He pivoted to creating cinematic, orchestral hip hop that explores mental health, trauma, and healing. He's here to talk about why the hustle often hides the hurt, why vulnerability is the hardest battle to spit, and how to turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. So, Rich, I am very excited to welcome you to the show. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you for having me and also to allow me to share my story with your audience.
It's great to have you here. So, let's get started. Rich, in hip hop, the currency is usually confidence. It's about being the best, having the most and showing no weakness. But you admitted that you started with that braggadocious style, but then you hit a wall during the pandemic where that persona failed you. So was there a specific moment or a night where you looked in the mirror and you realized that the character you were playing couldn't survive the reality you were feeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when the pandemic hit, I was going through a identity crisis before the music that I was creating was very braggadocious because I thought that's what people wanted. I really thought that people wanted me to have this because also that's what I was listening to. So I was feeding myself that type of music. So automatically I thought that that was the type of persona that I had to have in order for me to get attention from the people in the industry and also my peers. So I put up this persona, and I realized when two people were trying to who were cyberbullying me for a couple years now about my music, they were pretty much telling me like, this is not who you are, why you faking the funk kind of thing. And I had to deal with that and internalize that. And what that meant for me was like, can I live my life, 24/7 with this mask on? And it was just like an aha moment for me. It was like I couldn't, like, it got tiring after a while to have to put up this mask of who I thought people wanted to be, wanted me to be. And then I realized that I was still empty. Like, I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't be this tough guy, gangster rapper that I knew I wasn't at my core. Like, it really did drain me empty. And I realized after the fact that they told me about this and addressed it to me online, I was just like, well, I kind of was like, maybe they're right. So I started to develop more of I guess a better, I gave myself grace to know that that was a season in my life. And now, I get to do it differently. And it wasn't until my mentor got into the picture that she helped me also realize the value that I had and this my authentic self and the things I was putting out there besides the braggadocious were actually very authentic and very empathetic. So music and empowering. And she also helped me bridge that gap between who I really was and helped me differentiate which ones, what part of me needed to grow and what parts of me in a sense needed to die off, which is the old identity. So she really was essential in helping me to bridge that gap to figure out like what was the next best version of myself because I was still coming to grips with still holding on to that identity that only served me for a purpose or a certain time period.
All right, Rich. So I like to know for you, when you started rapping about depression and self-worth, so were you afraid in any way that the hip hop community would reject you?
Well, I would say yes and no because a part of me, I was, I was afraid to share some of this stuff because I personally, didn't want to be that type of rapper who showed their emotions. I thought, like, I think that's why I put that persona because I wanted to seem like I was the strong guy. And so I decided to, yeah, put out those Braggadocious songs, but at the same time, it didn't really fulfill me. And I started to really realize that the stuff that I was making about the depression, that was more mentally stimulating for people, and actually it really caused a lot of people to really become attracted to my music because I actually had a message. The other stuff was just vanity, vanity talk, and it really wasn't connecting. I could tell from the views, I could tell from the no comments. For me, and it wasn't until I started putting out my music about mental health awareness, people started to be attuned of like how important mental health is. And they started to take their mental health seriously by me even being an advocate. So a lot of things changed for me, not only my music in general, but people started to become, I guess, more hip to the mental health space because it made people realize that wait a minute, maybe my mental health is not really good and I may need, help from another person, So I think, of course I was scared because I didn't want people to judge my music or judge the dark stuff that I've been through. But at the same time, it felt very empowering to know that I can speak about these things openly or freely and still have people really validate my music in a lot of ways that help me realize that my music is inspiring them.
Your production is quite unique, orchestral, haunting, cinematic. It feels more like a movie score than a standard hip hop beat. So, do you use those heavy instruments because the standard drums aren't enough to carry the weight of the emotions you are talking about?
Well, for me, I mean, I have an in-house producer from Georgia. He's amazing, Komais. He does a lot of my productions for my music. I'm very inspired by NF's music. He's another conscious rapper who inspired me to get into the cinematic orchestral stuff. And so I started to apply that to my music sound and my soundscapes. A lot of my music is cinematic because that's just the sound I really like and enjoy, and I feel like it really improves, or it really elevates the sound of the music because of the heavy content that my music entails. Feels like it's a good fit for that type of production behind it as well.
You mentioned that during the isolation of the pandemic, you felt inundated with messages of victimhood. But that's a trap that many people fall into, waiting for someone else to come save them. But I'd like to know for you, how did you flip the switch from victim to victor without just toxic positivity?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I really did was I had to rewrite a new narrative for myself, and it did take me figuring out what those tools were in my toolkit to be able to rewrite my story, so to speak, about being the victim and then being victorious. I started to listen to so much positive stuff like Nobody's Business. It could be I was in the shower, I would listen to a positive, either a song or a podcast or something motivational to uplift me when I was in my darkest moment. I would, even if I was in the cab, I would listen to something positive. I would wear and order all these positive shirts with positive phrases on them. I would order posters that say affirmations on them so I can look at them. And and also the gym was a way, even though it was it was a little bit isolating because I was kind of just doing it in my room, but I was able to kind of like hone those emotions, so to speak, through exercise. And all those things really helped me process a lot of the things that I was facing in a dark room. It really helped me to know that, like, and also having community. I was speaking to a friend of mine who actually helped me to realize that I was going through mental abuse when I didn't even know what it was. And the same mentor that taught both of us was basically mental abusing both of us in different ways. So she kind of helped me to, not kind of, she actually did help me to get me to the other side when I was suicidal. And she helped me to change my story and advocate for my mental health when I couldn't advocate for myself. So she helped me to build a different story. And that's when the mental abuse record came out of me, and like literally me working out, like, okay, I need to record this now kind of thing in my room. And then it was me affirming that I could overcome mental abuse and I'm on the other side of it, even when I was still going through it. So a lot of those things, in my toolkit really helped me to shift that story, because I had all these things that brought me to think of a different perspective, and it really helped me to navigate that dark space.
All right, so Rich, your artist name is Rich Vision with a Y. In the beginning, maybe the Rich, yeah, your name is Richard, of course, but I like to know that the Rich probably also meant money. So after your mental health journey, has the definition of that word changed for you? Or what does it mean to be rich now?
Yeah, I think it was just a play on, because my name is Richard, like, the Rich was all in my rap names. But I think for me, it's more like being rich in spirit of like having a bigger vision for myself. Because when I started doing the rebrand with my mentor at the time, I was rich so fresh, and that was the Braggadocious rapper. And it was until I got with her that I saw myself in a different light. She helped pull some of the deep concepts and stuff that I was holding back on to the light, to say, no, this is something good here, there's gold here. So for me, it meant me enriching the lives of others with my music. That's where the whole Rich Vision got birthed from. And I really believe that I'm here to make a difference, and empower other people to keep going, to feel worthy of being here, because I felt unworthy to be here at one point in my life. And my goal is to always inspire other people who are going through hard struggles, because I want people to realize that they're not alone in the struggles. And if I can come on the other side and make a whole album and a whole book to inspire people of what I've overcome, then it's a testament of what other people can overcome as well.
All right. So you are open about the fact that suicide is never the solution. So for men especially, we often suffer in silence. Do you think music has the power to reach men in a way that therapy sometimes fail to?
Yes, I really believe I'm a avid, actually I'm an avid advocate for both. I'm still in
Hmm.
therapy. I have been for a couple of years now because I was suicidal. And also at the same time, with the music that I was into when I was going through my dark moments, it really helped me again to rewrite a new story. Like, I was listening to Mariah Carey's positive songs that she had out, like Hero, and When You Believe, and is all these other songs that I had on repeat, to help me to find a different path for me. And by listening to positive music, it really helped me to feel uplifted, even though physically I wasn't feeling so good about myself. However, when I started to listen to the positive music, it gave me a different perspective. It got me out of my head, because what happened was I started to listen to what the words were saying to me, and I was actually paying attention to those words, and I'm like, okay, these words have power. And I started singing it all over, and I just started to realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm in a better mood now. Like, just how the gym helps me to have a better mood even when I'm not feeling well. In a sense, I become a different person when I listen to music. I feel empowered. I feel strengthened, and I feel like with music, it could it has the ability, for me to, in my opinion, to uplift and destroy. There's some music that uplifts me. There's some music that destroys me. And I'm very conscious about the music that brings me up and the music that has a low frequency and drains my energy. And that's why I always make a note to listen to positive music that could help me to think about my life in a higher perspective.
All right, Rich. For the listener right now who is masking, maybe they are the funny friend or the successful boss, but inside they are crumbling. So what's the first step to taking off that mask without actually falling apart?
Yeah, I think for me, I'd say the first thing I say is to get into either a community or either peer support group or to find a counselor. That for me helped me to take the mask off. Like finding people, whether it's a friend, counselor, a mentor, to help me navigate. Because I think for me, I thought that I was the one that could do it all by themselves. I made a record code. I don't keep it to myself because I used to be the person who kept everything to myself. And because of that, I was suicidal many times in my life. And it wasn't until I started to open up, to other people about some of the struggles I've, dealt with in the past that were traumatic. It really helped me to realize that I was less alone than I thought, and it was good to have like someone to not judge me for those that dark past, and at the same time hold space for me when I was going through that heavy emotion of actually taking off that mask and trying to figure out how to process and heal from all the trauma from years ago. So I think definitely my go-to is like call a friend, call someone, because being alone in one's head, at least for me, it only got me so far. I needed somebody, a community, and a village to help me to process some of the stuff that I was going through. And I think a lot of people suffer in silence because of fear of rejection and fear of approval and, being judged. And I think a lot of times people, like, at least for me, sometimes I would rather have not said anything because sometimes it feels like I'm being judged. But at the same time, I have to realize that, like, keeping it in for me was way worse than not, sharing it. And, now thank God I have a men's support group, another peer mental health group that I go to every week virtually. So I have all these communities that help me feel less alone. So definitely community, definitely music has been helpful for me. Definitely writing is, sometimes I've written myself out of darkness, so to speak, and I will write my affirmations every single day. I would meditate, and those things really help me to change my mindset.
All right, all right. So, Rich, I have a personal one for you. After dropping the ego, facing the silence, and rebuilding your art around the truth rather than just hype, I'd like to know what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Yeah, that's a great question. My idea of success really altered before it was to get the accolades and all this stuff. And now it's like, if I can make a difference in one person's life, that really for me is everything. Like I don't really care about the accolades anymore. I don't rap for accolades. I really do it for the love of it and also to inspire other people, even if it's just one person that I could help, heal them from a past trauma or see things from a different perspective from listening to my music and possibly get them, the help that they deserve from listening to my music. Hey, that's for me a success, like in my eyes. I don't need to have all the money and all of that. That's really nothing that I really care for. I really want to make a difference in this world. And I feel like by being in the music industry and finding my own lane with the mental health um lane that I'm in right now is really helping me to see that there's a lot more people who need to hear my message than I thought. And so I continue to empower myself every single day to get up and write, to get up and put out music, even though sometimes I have my dark days where I don't even want to go out the bed, get out the bed, but I do it because I know that there's somebody on the other side who needs to hear some of the messages in my music that I have, to speak. So I really, really want to really give back to those people who are struggling in silence and know that they're not alone.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Lastly, Rich, for our listeners who want to hear your tracks or connect with your story, where is the best place for them to go?
Yes, I have a website. It's under www.richvision. So it's RICHV like Victor, Y like yellow, SION. All my music is up on there, but for my whole collection of music, it's on Spotify under the same name. So it's Rich Vision. Um, you could Google it, and all my stuff will come up on the same name. But I'm just really grateful because I have my book out also that you can look up. It's on Amazon. It's from victim to victor, transforming trauma into triumph. That's also my website as well. If you like to support and order a copy, it's a mental health poetry book about my struggles with mental abuse, my struggles with gaslighting, and my forgiveness journey. Also, so I'm just really grateful that I have the book out, and I'm grateful for the music that has come out from the things I've gone through because it's really a testament of my resilience and me wanting to be here to empower other people. So I just hope that you stay inspired and that you know that you are worthy to be here.
It's been a truly great time having a conversation with you here today, and I am very excited to have you join us on the show. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Absolutely a pleasure.